From Henderson, Texas to Henderson, Nevada, Tyree Wilson is your newest member of the Las Vegas Raiders. Eddie Paskal hanging out with my man Eric Allen late night. And thank you for hanging out with us for a draft edition of Upon Further Review, brought to you by the good people at Coors Light. EA, we are done. Round one officially in the books. We have much to look forward to tomorrow, but let us begin here, as we said at the top. The newest member of your Las Vegas Raiders, Tyree Wilson, selected at number 7 overall. And the pick comes in, Goodell comes out, does his spiel, makes his announcement. Your initial reaction was what?
I like him. When leading up to the draft, you talk about edge guys. So many people talked about the other guy in Alabama, but there's a lot of guys, insiders, guys who I trust, said, man, this guy has a really high upside. And, I'm a defensive guy, right? Cornerback. And when you're talking about someone who can get after the quarterback and disrupt the pocket and do some crazy things athletically for a cornerback, you're like, cool, I like that guy. So I won't have to cover for 2 days. I just think he has so much upside. And you talk about how long he is, the things that he had to go through. He wasn't like a 5-star. And I know a lot of people are getting pushed back on certain things, but I just really think this is a really solid pick for us to start that, hopefully, trend of defensive players that are kind of like the emphasis of this 2023 draft for us.
And we talk about the length and the wingspan. We're looking at it right here, 84 and a half inches as a wingspan. I mean, that's a long, big, athletic man. And we heard from Dave Ziegler and Champ Kelly earlier this evening. And shameless plug, you can hear their full press conference on Raiders.com and the Raiders Podcast Network. But we heard from them, and Dave said really the goal is to start building a defense that has waves of defensive linemen, right?
Yes.
And we were talking about that earlier in the green room, right? You look at some of these big dog, no-nonsense defense like the Eagles. What do?
Yes.
They just keep building. They just keep getting more and more and more. And certainly, right, your 2023 Raiders are not the 2022 Philadelphia Eagles as of right now. But all the same, to keep adding talent, to keep adding depth to one of those premier positions at number 7, if you're a fan, you have to feel good about that. And especially because you and I were talking, it feels like for Tyree, come day one, this is a guy who the expectations of the world are not going to be on his shoulders.
Right.
You got Max Crosby on one end, a perennial, guy who's ascending in this league, all-pro type of dude. Chandler Jones, who's had,
just
borderline Hall
Yes.
of Fame career.
Yeah.
And now you're Tyree Wilson. You can step in. And we were saying, look, hey, if the coaching staff says, hey, we feel really good about you in X package, just be here, focus on that, and just get better week after week. I mean, that is a great place for a young guy to come step in day one.
It's awesome. And if this young man doesn't understand it, he will. The first time he's on the football field with those two guys, sometimes last year when you're on the practice field with Max and Chandler, they're discussing pass rushing moves with their coach. I mean, they're giving each other tips and hints. And the pass rushing off season that you hear so much about, these guys go to, the classes, and that's all going to be a part of his development. And that's what the most important thing about a young player now is, how can you develop? Understanding that in college you were able to physically beat people, and in the pros you're going to have to find a way your skill set's going to have to be better. And what better way to kind of sharpen those skills than to be with Max and Chandler. I mean, those two guys are phenomenal at really teaching young folks, teaching other team members, being competitive at practice. Those are all the things that turn you into an outstanding professional football player.
And Max, we talk about, always doing the little things, right? Max takes to social media, welcomes Tyree to Vegas, really shortly after the pick is made. But I think for me, when you look at, everything that we read and the folks that I really respect and appreciate and trust in terms of evaluation and what they do, have all said, look, this is Tyree Wilson, incredible player. And the only reason he was there at 7 is because of some of the injury concern, right? And I think that it was very important. Dave Ziegler, Champ Kelly, very clear on night 1, just a few minutes ago, they said, hey, if there was any concern about the foot injury lingering or being something that they weren't comfortable with, he goes, we weren't going to make that pick. So I think that if you're a fan and you're saying, okay, great, the numbers are awesome. I mean, we're looking here that, he led the Big 12 with quarterback pressures, was leading the team with 7 sacks and 14 tackles for loss before he misses those final 3 games last year. You could say, that's great, but I think you can take a deep sigh of relief, coming out on night 1 where Dave and Champ say, yeah, it's there, but no need to be concerned. We did our homework, we did our due diligence, and if this was anything that caused us pause, we would just simply wouldn't have done it.
Exactly. And congratulations to the young man being able to show all those things before the injury, right? Because you turn on the film, eventually it's going to pop if you're that kind of football player. The 7th pick is a very high pick. You want some success from that 7th pick because it's so high. And this young man, again, when you turn on the film, you see the difference maker. You see what he was able to do and accomplish in college, and you know with your group here, with your team, with your coaches, he can develop into an even better player. But it's up to him. Through those interviews, one thing that he mentioned in the press conference also is the coaches developing this young man, and he's willing and ready to be developed and understand that he does have flaws, hand placements, little things that we're going to pick as a coaching staff about your game, but those are things going to make you better, make you great. And I'm so excited to see this young man come in and really help this football team in any way he can.
What's that say about a dude EA? Consensus guy who's going to go in the top 10. It just matters of how the board falls. But to come in here, to come to Las Vegas on his 30 visit, to say to the coaching staff, look, I know I need to get better. These are aspects of my game where I feel good about, but there's a lot more room for me to go. I feel like that says a lot about a young guy who, when 6 months ago, when this process starts, I'm not going to be waiting very long to still come in and be like, I'm ready to be molded. I'm ready to get better. I have that desire, that innate need to be great.
Hey, Eddie, I tell you, we can talk about the 40 times. We can talk about the bench press and all those things. One of the key components of success, I think, is having that maturity in knowing that you're not all the way there, that there is room to grow, and be willing to accept that in practice, work hard, and understand when guys are on you, they're trying to. They see that there's room for growth, that you can get better. And once you really accept that, that's the hardest part, to be in the film room and think that, there's nothing wrong with me. What do you have to work on? Nothing. Right? That's the hardest part to kind of get over as a player. You have to be humble. You have to understand that, this game is full of tremendous football players to come in, find a way to listen, learn, watch film, understand that the mistakes that other guys make, you don't have to make those mistakes. Learn from their mistakes. It makes you a better football player. And all the things I've heard so far are very, very good about the direction that this young man wants to be in.
Now we look at the macro, right, where you understanding there's room to grow and things to get better, and what better teachers, mentors than Max Crosby and Chandler Jones, right? But we talk about some of those tremendous football players, and even in this division, I did get a kick out of this EA, and it might be sacrilege to bring it up on one of our platforms, but Patrick Mahomes tweets out after the pick, right? Another Texas Tech guy goes, "Hey, take it easy on me, big dog." Hey, congrats though to Tyree Wilson. So I get it. I understand the alma mater love, but it's nice to see some of the biggest, best people in this game are like, hey man, be good, take it easy on me. But I see you. I see what y'all here doing.
And again, that's what we have to do as every team that has to play the Kansas City Chiefs. You have to find a way to close that gap. And any way you can defensively is how we need to close that gap right now. Again, I hope he is the beginning of a draft weekend that is full of dynamic players like Tyree.
And you are absolutely right, because when you look at this first pick, a position of need, and the Raiders objectively got better. They are better as we record this at 9:30 than they were at 5:30, right?
Yes.
Which is a good thing. And not every NFL team can say that, but the Raiders can. But we're looking ahead now to day 2, EA, right? No shortage of intrigue as we dive now into the second and third rounds of the NFL draft. When we look at team needs for the Raiders, when we look at things that are intriguing to you, what kind of pops off the board there for you?
Well, cornerback, obviously, I think we need some depth, some competition in the secondary. Defensive tackle, we could really utilize and help our football team get better. Offensive guard on the right side is also an issue. And then we need a dynamic linebacker, one who can just slip in the middle of the football field, be a great communicator. We just haven't had that. Maybe he's on our roster already. I don't know. But we haven't had that kind of leadership, the guy who wears the green dot with no question. Last year, we had a couple guys wear the helmet with the green dot. So we need someone who can come in and kind of bring everything together with all these outside tools, because it's very difficult to be a leader if you're a corner on the outside, because I'm in my own game, right? I don't have time to to be patting the guy on the back and, hey, I'm out here trying to cover the best guy on the field. Max Crosby, great energy, but you're on the edge. Need someone in the middle of the football field to kind of make sure defensively we're communicating properly. We understand the situations in the football game. The coaches feel very confident in them controlling the game in 2-minute situations when, you're not going to be able to get the signals from the sideline. You're going to have to understand the situation, what you need to do in the situation in those 2-minute drills. Those are the kind of players, hopefully, in these next tomorrow and Saturday we're able to get.
And you're 100% right, where that kind of big dog in the middle, that no-nonsense green dot, he's going to be there for 17 weeks. It's eluded this team for a while.
It really
has been a minute. And so I think that you look at day 2 needs, yes, I think that would be fantastic. And I'll say it too, man. I know we were talking about in the green room. I am intrigued as we go into Friday morning. A couple very, very fancy quarterback names still out there. And look, let's be honest, Jimmy G is going to be the guy under center for this team come the fall, as he should be. But I think Dave and Josh and the entire front office here have been very clear that, look, they're always going to foster competition, that they're always going to bring in, we talked about the defensive line, bringing in people to push the incumbents to get better, to be, we talk about the depth all the time, and you're sitting there at 38, right? Yeah. You're sitting there at 38, and Will Levis is there, and Hendon Hooker is there, and you're like, maybe we get a little froggy and make a selection there to let a guy sit for you, because that's the beauty of having a Jimmy and a Brian Hoyer. We talk about the expectations for a guy like Tyree Wilson not having to come in on day 1 and be all-world everything. You draft a signal caller at 38. There's I don't say there's no expectation, but I think there's an understanding that, hey, we don't need you to be Dan Marino. We don't need you to be Patrick Mahomes. We don't need you to be Justin Herbert on day 1.
Yeah, that's very important to understand. It could be an outstanding situation for a young quarterback to come in, particularly with a system that's not easy to learn, that you have to kind of immerse yourself in and be able to understand exactly why Coach Josh is calling these situational calls at this time. And a quarterback, anytime you're able to get some rest and not have that pressure to play right away. So it gives you a chance to work on your skill set. All of these guys are talented. It doesn't matter if you're a first-round guy, sixth-round guy, free agent. Brock Purdy last year. All these guys are talented. You need time to hone your skills to be successful in this league. A quarterback who comes to the Raiders has a great chance to learn behind Jimmy G, who's a winner, who's been in so many great situations, Super Bowl playoff games, can tell you stories about Tom Brady, and I'm pretty sure all quarterbacks will want to hear that and soak that up. It'd be a great situation for these guys to be in. So when Jimmy G is either, next year or injured or whatever the case may be, those guys can step right in and be able to be confident about what they can do.
And let's not forget about the impact of Brian Hoyer in this scenario as well. A guy who is very familiar with Coach McDaniels, very familiar with what is asked to be, what a quarterback is asked to do in this offense to be successful. So if you're a quarterback, whether it's Levis, Hooker, someone that we're not even on our radar, like you're going to come into a situation with the chance to learn, with the chance to kind of educate yourself in what Josh wants to do to be successful. And I think it'd be a great opportunity for any of these guys on day 2 or day 3, or to your point, even the undrafted ranks to come in and kind of see what they can do here in Las Vegas. But before we get out of here, speaking of Las Vegas, our man Tyree Wilson, who will be in the building tomorrow.
Yes.
Very excited to chat with him. I know we have a lot on the docket with him, but our man dressed for the occasion too. My goodness,
man, he was Vegas ready.
Vegas ready.
Yeah.
Was there we were debating this back and forth. Was there a shirt under the blazer? Like a dress shirt? It's hard to tell because even if there was, the buttons were. I don't know if the buttons were hanging on for dear life, or he just said, "Hey, we're not going to do the buttons tonight."
But I don't think there was a shirt under there. I'm like, when you're that chiseled and cut up, you can go without the shirt. Yeah, the shirt's in the blue room. Yeah. Or something.
Because that's do you think there was a shirt at one point? And he made the call.
Yeah, you got to make the call. Like, hey, how am I looking? Everybody's like, yeah, you're looking good.
But none of his boys are going to be like, no, man. Let's put the shirt back on.
You got to do some push-ups first, though. You'll come on push-ups before you go out.
Well, tomorrow, I promise you this, we will get to the bottom of whether it was a shirt under Tyree Wilson's blazer.
I hope I get to ask him first.
Please do. I think in our order of operations, I think you're first on the call sheet. So if you don't do it, I will. I promise.
Shirt or no shirt?
But hey, on a serious note, like an exciting guy to come into this building.
Yeah.
I think everyone here, the energy is really palpable here in the building. Excited to have him in HQ tomorrow. There's going to be a lot of fantastic content coming out on Raiders.com. We cannot wait, but it's late. You and I got to get a little bit of rest because we're going to do this all again tomorrow.
Oh, man. Exciting stuff.
And it is exciting. And Friday is always the busiest day, right? Because you get the day one guy coming in, right?
Yeah.
So Tyree will be here tomorrow. And then come 4 o'clock, we're back.
We're back at it again.
We're back at it again.
And those players on day 2 are the type of players who are hungry, come in, and they want to compete and get a spot.
Absolutely. Yep. And I cannot wait. There's going to be no shortage of intrigue like there was no shortage of intrigue today. And everyone here at Silver and Black Productions will have you covered from A to Z. So in the meantime, EA and I are going to go get a little rest.
Yep.
We will see you guys tomorrow for our second day of coverage here for the NFL Draft. So in the meantime, thank you to everyone here at Silver and Black Productions who helps get our little program from A to Z. And we will see you tomorrow for our next episode of Upon Further Review.